Well, Christmas time is here, and that means we need to make some recipes for, Christmas things and, other holidays. For me, when I was younger, they usually involved things like peanut butter balls, sausage balls, other things in the shape of balls for some reason. I do have ideas and older recipes I've done before as well for this video, and I think I want to get started with one of my favorites, which is sausage balls. And it's going to involve simply 4 ingredients. I got 1 pound of mild country sausage, 2 eggs, 8 ounces of sharp cheddar, and 3 ounces of ground pork rinds. The first and most difficult step that we need to take is get our cheese shredded up, which, it's not the hardest thing to do. It's just the most annoying and time-consuming thing to do about this recipe, in my opinion. And once you get down to the nub, you want to make sure to get as close as you can possibly get to your fingertip with the shredder and get it all shredded in there. And we can reveal our hard work. Oh, isn't that satisfying? Not really. Either way, it's done. We can get this into our pork rinds. And the next thing that we need to do is to open up our sausage and add it right into the bowl. And now we can finish that up with our 2 eggs. And now for the part that I know you're super excited to do, which is mix this up. I know people are going to be like, why didn't you just use the food processor to do this? And I'm going to say, I didn't want to. That's about it. Simply just get this mixed up by hand. I prefer it by hand, and it's Christmas, have a little fun. Maybe your kids can come help you. Just make sure you wash their hands. And it should be looking a bit like this once it's nice and mixed through. All we gotta do is take this and pull in a parchment lined baking sheet as well as a cookie scoop. If you don't have a cookie scoop, you feel free to do this by hand. Simply get you a scoop, put it in your hand, and just roll them up and repeat that process. And before you continue to do this, go ahead and make sure that your oven is preheated at 350 degrees Fahrenheit so that when we're done doing this, you can throw them right in. I'm gonna put these in for roughly 20 to 25 minutes or until they're looking about like this. These are super hot, so we need to let these rest for about 10 minutes. And once they are cooled off, we can go ahead and give them a taste. They're looking pretty good. They're nice and cheesy. They smell amazing. Like the sausage and the cheese kind of like roasting is coming through nicely, but cheers. That's what the inside looks like. Yeah, like I said, I've made these before and they're still awesome. And for the pork rind haters out there, I think you should try this one out, honestly, because everything kind of gets masked by the cheese and the sausage. Really, the pork rinds are here just to add that texture. It kind of adds like a biscuity, almost bready texture to it without, just being such like dense sausage and cheese. It actually does lighten it up a bit. It's toasty from the cheese getting nice and a little caramelized on top. The sausage has had a good flavor. It's really going to taste like whatever type of sausage you choose to put in here. So you can play around with it if you want. It's not every day that you get to see chocolate on the carnivore diet, so this one's going to be a little more special than usual. I have this chocolate Relyte from the people over at Redmond, who also make the real salt. You don't have to use this for this recipe. We'll also leave some instructions for, just like cocoa powder and other sweeteners, but if you want to use this, you can get this at redmond.life. And I do have a code there. It's just trash cheese. You save 15% off. Helps the channel. If you want to order it, this is my favorite flavor they've ever made. Also keep this watermelon lime around just to have it because I like to have my electrolytes every now and then. But with that being said, I wanted to make something that's chocolatey, but obviously that fits in with the parameters of this diet. And what better way than gelatin? And I will say this recipe is going to be extremely easy. If you can boil water and if you can wait for something to cool off in the fridge, you can make this, all right? The first thing we need to do is get a pot and add 2 cups of water to it. And then we want to take this over the stove and get it to a boil. However, while it's boiling, we can go ahead and get ourselves a mixing bowl and we want to add in 1/2 cup of cold water, which the water in the pot was also cold. I don't know why I specified here. Just use cold water. 1/2 cup of heavy cream. 2 scoops of our Relyte powder, which this one's chocolate, obviously. If you want to do this with like one of the fruity ones, do whatever you want. I will be sure to let you know down below in the description what I would use specifically for those that just don't want the electrolytes. You also want to get yourself this gelatin or something like it. Each one of these envelopes is 1.8 grams. I'm going to be using all 4 envelopes for this recipe. And I don't know how much that is, but based on what I'm looking at now is probably a 1/4 cup worth of gelatin. And you want to add this to your cold mixture. You don't want to put this in the hot right now. I also want to add in a little extra sweetness, which I'm going to be using brown sugar allulose. And I'll be adding a loose 1/4 cup. I don't have to have it packed in there. Finally, we can give this a mix. All right, let's just let this sit while we wait for our water to boil. All right, go ahead and get that in there. Give it a good mix. Just do this until you don't see anything floating around in it. And make sure you splash it all over the white countertop so that it stains for later purposes. Okay, it should be good and mixed up. What we need to do is get ourselves a mini muffin tin. Because, you can order stuff on Amazon, but doesn't mean it's going to show up on time. So it means we're making these with a muffin tin. I'm going to use a quart cup for this because I can bend it to make it spout-like. So all we got to do is start filling these up. And I do have some left over. I don't really have any more pan, but I do have an idea of what I'm going to do with the rest of this. I'm actually going to leave it in this cup, and you'll see what I'll do later. For now, though, what we want to do is carefully get this into our fridge. We want to let it sit there for at least a couple hours, and if you're going to do what I'm going to do with this is probably going to take about twice that amount of time, maybe 4 hours or so. But I'm going to get those in. I'm going to clock wipe right into the next part until they're done. They're not spilling out. That's what I wanted. And you may have noticed I'm already missing one, so I don't want to talk about that one. But I will talk about what I'm going to do to get these out, is just get a toothpick, go around all of them. And speaking of the big one, I'm going to go ahead and attempt to get it onto my plate. Ah, yes. And there we go. And I want this because I'm going to use this as the base of my little tree I'm going to make with these. I'm going to get these out, just simply use like the back of a spoon or a fork. Just get up under there, lift it up. And I'm just going to start stacking them pretty much. What I really like about these is how you have the separation of the chocolate versus the heavy cream at the bottom. It just has a nice little textural difference as well. Well, my tree fell apart, so I'm just going to give up and just keep putting these on here. There you go. Sweet little hot chocolate flavored gelatin treats. I've been snacking on these already because they were breaking apart if you didn't see it in the little sped up bit of footage, but they're good. They're really good. It's just a nice little texturally different. It's creamy. It's a little sweet. It's a little salty. The molasses from the brown sugar sits out there nice. It's a good way to like have quote unquote candy while also not having candy. Really enjoy this. Hope y'all try it out. Alright, for this one, we're going to be making a cheese ball of sorts. My initial thought was to take my favorite like holiday deli meat, which is a summer sausage, and cut it up thin, make it into chips, but that did not work at all. I've got a different plan instead. And it is going to start with this. I will put this cream cheese aside to let it continue to get to room temp. But in the meantime, I do want to get my summer sausage open. And for this recipe, I'm only going to need about half of it. If you want to go less, that's fine. I know it's pretty rich, but I think it's going to work well with what I'm going to do. And you want to go ahead and get this paper off because this is paper. Save this, snack on it, do it. Do other things if you want to with it. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and take this. I'm going to split this in half again. And I'm just going to make little planks and give it a nice dice because that's the plan right now. Just going to get that into our mixing bowl. But I am going to be adding some dried chives. Probably about a 1/4 cup, maybe a 1/3 cup just to be safe. I'm going to add in about a half a teaspoon of dried thyme. And then finish it off with a half teaspoon of onion powder. Now I'm going to go ahead and add in a full pound of cream cheese. And all we have to do now is just get it mixed together. Do the best you can. I wish I did this in a bigger bowl, but here we are. I do want to go ahead and taste it just to make sure I don't need it. I probably need to add a little bit of salt to this. Probably going to add about a half a teaspoon just because the cream cheese is more tangy than salty. And I'm also going to add in a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. Let's get all that mixed back in now. Let's give it one more taste. Yep. That's all it needed. And to shape the cheese ball, I'm just going to get the standard little bowl. I'm going to line it with some plastic. I'm not going to keep it in this for the shape of the bowl, but I do want to get it started in this just because it makes it a little bit easier. Let's get that in there. I'm going to wrap this so I can kind of pick it up. Maybe this like weird half dome thing will work for me. We're going to do one last thing to try to make it pretty. Let's go ahead and get out a plate. I'm going to try to get this thing dead center on it. It's the only chance I really have because I don't really have any way to get it up. So I'm just going to... That's pretty good. And I'm going to take my leftover chives and just kind of sprinkle and push those in. And there we have it. I was going to crust this with the summer sausage, but I was like, that's kind of excessive and it's not really, I don't think it'd look as good, but I think this turned out looking really nice. There are obviously a couple of different options for dipping. One would be the summer sausage. The other would be whatever few pork rinds you might have laying around. But no matter what you choose, I think you're going to make a good choice just by eating this. And I want to see how it is. Give this a taste. So, cheers. That's pretty good. So it's creamy, oniony, rich, meaty, tangy, savory. It's got most of the bases covered. And honestly, I think guests are gonna love this thing. So if you like cheese balls, I think this would be a good option for you, especially on Christmas Day. It was easy. You know, I didn't stop the camera one time to make this. Well, hey, hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, I think you'd also enjoy my company, Carnivore Companion. Be sure to check out CarnivoroCompanion.com. Use the code CarnivorousChef at checkout. And also be sure to sign up for the mailing list just so you can make sure you're kept up to date on all the new stuff coming out. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.